whole thing. I got a message last night saying, we shouldn't be conspiracy theorists. We should be Christians. And I said to him, why is it called conspiracy theory when I'm a student of history? When do you know of any society that strips their rights outright?
Wait, can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
What was the thought process of it being conspiracy theory? What were they considering to be conspiracy theory?
He said that churches, the right to religious practice isn't being attacked. And I said, okay, no, but what's to stop them from doing it? Because they regulate the internet now, right? Yeah. So what's going to stop them? And people are like, that's not going to happen. Folks, listen to me. On college campuses, you mentioned Trump, you mentioned anything like that, they have something called safe spaces where they're trying to tell people you got to learn how to talk to people. You can't call people man or woman. You can't it's already happening where they're trying to silence your speech, right? And so now we have places where you can't even congregate in your car. It's called a drive-up service. For crying out loud, they're observing these things. And so I said to the guy, it doesn't matter to me if the church is shut down. I'm not mad if they did, if it was their choice. But when it comes down to where they're using the scriptures to justify listening to government when it's tyrannical, I'm sorry, you lost me on that one. That's why we want to talk about it. So when we saw this article about AG Barr, I was like, okay, the Attorney General is going to step in and say something. Here's my only fear about that. Is that more federal encroachment? It's
government,
you know what I mean? Are they
government with government?
Right. It's fighting government with government. Now they should be doing it, but how far are they going to take this one? Again, so when I said to him about conspiracy theories, I said, I've studied history a whole lot. And I've noticed that even in Nazi Germany, I think it took them almost 6 years to overthrow the German Constitution. Hitler's right, their whole deal. 6 years to overthrow the German Constitution. It wasn't overnight. These places that had freedom and liberty, it wasn't overnight that these places got stripped of their liberties. It was slowly but surely, and Thomas Jefferson said it's a small encroachment is what happens. And it's not something that happens quickly. It's just little things here or there, little by little by little. Go ahead.
Yep, absolutely. And that's what concerns me about this situation is everybody saying, well, it's for a good reason. It's for a good reason. It's for short term. The problem with that is now you're creating precedent. And I know we talked about that last week, this idea of precedent. And what happens is the reason will always be there. There's always a good reason that can come up as to why you shut the doors. Now, I've even seen people post stuff online about how you're not a good pastor if you leave your doors open. You don't care about your congregation. You're more interested in getting the tithes than you are the lives of your congregation.
Right.
Now,
yeah. Okay.
I'm going to take the high road.
So Walmart's only interested in sales, not, you know what I mean? That's so stupid. It's just, and I'm not being mean. I hope that doesn't come across. It does come across. I'm not trying to be. I'm not. But it's like to blame the church for wanting tithes. Really? So why is it your intentions are good to shut down my doors, but somehow my intentions to keep the doors open are bad?
Yep. Yeah. And
let's keep going.
No, you're absolutely right. And I want people to understand, you were talking about history. A lot of times Nazi Germany gets brought up. The other side of that is the Soviet Union and what they did, and they were much more antagonistic towards churches and religion. But you have to remember that for a long time, Russia was actually a very religious nation.
Right.
Right? They weren't an atheistic nation per se, but when you had communism move in, you had this encroachment, you had the revolution, everything started to shift, and all of a sudden the churches were one of the hardest hit.
Right.
The churches were shut down. Believers, purely for being believers, were sent to the gulags. And we don't hear about the gulags because we're too busy hearing about the concentration camps in Germany. They were going on at the same time.
That's really good.
And at least Germany, and as bad as this sounds, Germany still had an allowance for Christianity.
Right.
Communism didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And purely because you were a believer, you could be sent to the gulags. And we're not trying to say America is going to have gulags in the next 10, 20 years.
We don't know that.
But we don't know that. And there are these steps that get taken to rework a society and a culture into something where they can accept the idea of having churches shut down permanently.
Right.
And especially in an age of technology, think about the idea of, well, our church buildings, because this is the new normal of high susceptibility to COVID-19, we're just going to leave church buildings shut.
Right.
Because it's a mass gathering. You guys can do it online. You guys can have your services online. You can pray at home. You can still have the freedom of worship.
You know, Mark Twain once said, if you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed, but if you do read it, you're misinformed.
Boom.
And think about it, right? Many of the people that said that they believed President Trump when he called things fake news, many of those same people believe the media right now about this whole mess.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, dude, it's crazy what's happening right now. And I'm not, what I believe this is happening, and we've been talking a lot, about this a lot at church, that it's exposing things that we had wrong in us. Yeah. Like if it was fear, family issues, all these other things, like it's exposing right now what's going on. And so we're seeing a lot of things exposed, but I'm going to read you a quote by Frederick Bastiat. And he said this: if the natural tendencies of mankind are so bad that it's not safe to permit people to be free, how is it that the tendencies of these organizers are always good? Mm-hmm. Why is it that they can tell you, oh, you meet bad, but we meet good? They can still have their congressional sessions. They can still do all those things. They'll determine what is good and what is not. Who gave them that authority is the question, right? Let's continue. He said this: do not the legislators and their appointed agents also belong to the human race? Or do they believe that they themselves are made of a finer clay than the rest of mankind? So what he's saying is everybody's on the equal playing field here. We're all born with natural rights, inalienable rights given to us by God. And most people miss this term, inalienable. They don't know what that means. So to them, it's like, if you take my rights for temporary safety, it's okay, right? And we use that quote out of context of Benjamin Franklin said, those that can give up essential liberties to obtain temporary safety deserve neither. I know what he was saying in that phrase, but it's really true if you take it in its modern term. Go ahead.
And I just wanted to interject for 1 second because people are, well, you know, they're not going to take that away. But the police officer in Mississippi actually said, you know, your rights are being stripped right now.
That's right.
Like, and
the Constitution stopped.
Yeah, it stopped. It's martial law was this idea that he's putting forth, which that should chill everybody, that a person in an authority position is saying your rights can be removed from you if a situation determines I can make that call.
Yeah.